Imagine this with me for a second. It's a Saturday, it's pouring rain outside, and you're sitting on your favorite sofa, sipping coffee. You casually glance up at the ceiling, and suddenly, your eyes lock onto it. A massive, ugly brown water stain, slowly expanding across your pristine white drywall. Instantly, the rain doesn't feel romantic anymore. Your brain goes into overdrive, calculating a dozen catastrophic scenarios. Is it going to drip? Is the ceiling going to collapse on the TV? And most importantly, where the hell is the leak coming from? That sinking feeling in your chest. That is the exact same feeling we experience when we are sitting at our desks on a normal Tuesday, and out of nowhere, the tears just start falling. Or that sudden, heavy emotional crash that hits you without warning. We frantically try to figure out why we're sad, why we're so stressed, but no matter how hard we look, we can't find the source of the emotional leak. Welcome to The Logical Monk, episode 22. In this episode, we are diving deep into the structural engineering of both our houses and our minds. Let's explore how to use hard science, MBA business frameworks, and systematic mindfulness to finally patch up the leaks when the roof of your life caves in. In civil engineering, the most notoriously frustrating problem a contractor will ever face isn't building a 50-story skyscraper. It's fixing a leaky roof. Why? Because water possesses a maddening physical property called capillary action. This property allows water to completely ignore gravity. It doesn't just flow straight down. It can travel upwards through hairline cracks, creep along the underside of beams, and navigate through steel structures for yards before finally dropping. Here is where the confusion lies. Water might drip through your ceiling at point A, but the actual crack on the roof could be 15 feet away at point B if you just slap some silicone over the stain at point A. The next time it rains, the water will simply find a new path and drip through point C. Human psychology works in the exact same way. The irritability, the depression, or the burnout you are experiencing right now, that is just the water dripping through the drywall. The true root cause of your emotional fracture usually comes from an entirely different stressor or an unresolved past trauma that you've completely overlooked. When dealing with a severely compromised roof, an MBA approach teaches us to evaluate the situation using ROI, return on investment. Sometimes, when you appraise the damage on an old property, you realize it's going to cost you $50,000 to completely tear off the roof and rebuild the infrastructure. The business question becomes, do we fight it out and pay the massive cost? Or do we cut our losses, scrap the project, and sell the property ASS to move forward? This is where many of us fall into the sunk cost fallacy. Some people stay in toxic, destructive relationships or soul-crushing corporate jobs simply because they feel they've invested too much time and energy into it. They would rather place a bucket under the leaking ceiling every single day than make the painful hikers decision to tear down the broken structure. Having the courage to cut your losses and terminate a project or a situation that has deteriorated beyond repair is not a failure. It is one of the smartest, most highly effective business strategies you can execute. If you do decide to fix the problem, you have to put on your engineering and management hats and conduct a root cause analysis, RCA. Interestingly, this corporate diagnostic tool aligns perfectly with the core framework of Buddhist philosophy. The Four Noble Truths. Dukkha, the truth of suffering. Identifying the symptom, the water-damaged ceiling. Samudaya, the origin of suffering. Finding the true source, the hidden crack on the roof. In the industrial world, specifically at Toyota, they use a technique called the 5 whys to find the samudaya. Let's apply this to our daily lives. Why 1. Why am I crying at my desk today? Greater than because I feel like I'm failing at my job. Why 2? Why do you feel you're failing? Because I can't focus lately. Why 3? Why can't you focus? Greater than because I haven't slept properly in weeks. Why 4? Why aren't you sleeping? Because I'm terrified about my family's financial debt. Why 5? Why is that terror consuming you? Greater than because I have mistakenly tied my entire self-worth to my financial success. Do you see the trajectory? What started as crying over a missed email is actually rooted in a deep existential fear. If you don't find this root cause, you will just keep applying emotional painkillers, silicon sealant to the wrong spots. Many high achievers blame themselves, thinking, I've always taken such good care of my mental health. I meditate. I think positive. Why is my mind breaking down? I want you to recall the second law of thermodynamics, which introduces the concept of entropy. This law states that everything in the universe, over time, moves from a state of order to a state of disorder. Even the most premium weather-coated metal roof will eventually degrade. Battered by harsh UV rays, severe storms, and extreme heat, the materials will inevitably turn brittle. This is not a manufacturing flaw. This is physics. In Buddhist terms, this is Anicca. A 2023 report by Gallup, State of the Global Workplace, revealed that 44% of employees worldwide experience a lot of stress the previous day, tying the record high. Your mind is constantly battered by the storms of a 24/7 news cycle, economic pressures, and relentless corporate demands. This is emotional weathering. You feeling broken isn't a sign of weakness. It's a natural result of materials being subjected to high-stress environments over time. Entropy is simply doing its job. Let's look at one of the most fundamental equations in mechanical engineering. Dollar stress equals frac force area dollar. In this equation, stress equals the force applied divided by the area that absorbs it. When a massive force, work deadlines, financial burdens, life crises crashes onto the roof of your mind, if your area, your perspective, your support system is incredibly narrow, say, you isolate yourself and obsess over a single problem, your dollar stress dollar metrics will skyrocket until your structural integrity shatters. As an engineer, you have 2 ways to solve this equation. Decrease the force, cut out unnecessary liabilities. Learn to say no, delegate, increase the area, broaden your perspective. Step outside, talk to friends, seek therapy. When the denominator area expands, the total internal stress drops dramatically. Another reason our mental waterproofing fails is poor supply chain management. In corporate procurement, if you contract a vendor that consistently delivers subpar, toxic raw materials, the final product you build will inevitably collapse. In your life, who are the vendors supplying your emotional raw materials? Is it a social media feed filled with toxic comparisons? Is it a manipulative coworker? Or is it your own inner critic feeding you negative self-talk every morning? You need to audit these vendors immediately. Furthermore, when calculating your lead time for recovery, you must use whole numbers, integers. Give yourself a full day or a full week to rest. Do not calculate rest in fractions or half measures. The human brain requires uninterrupted downtime to properly run its system maintenance. Let's look at a legendary business case study, Blockbuster. At its peak, this video rental giant had nearly 10,000 stores globally. When technology began to shift toward the internet, the first crack in the roof, Blockbuster executives saw the water dripping. But instead of tearing down their obsolete business model, they put a bucket under it. They even laughed Netflix out of the room. Eventually, the storm of digital streaming hit, and their compromised infrastructure collapsed entirely. Blockbuster filed for bankruptcy. This is a textbook example of ignoring statistical warnings and key performance indicators. KP is that scream. The old system is failing. If you have been feeling burned out and depressed for weeks, stop putting a bucket on the floor and faking a smile. You must be willing to pivot and restructure your life's business model. Since we can't control the global weather or stop the storms, how do we build an effective waterproofing system for the mind? Professional engineers don't just slap paint on a roof. They use a rigorous 3-step system. Step 1. The primer equals mindfulness and acceptance. Before applying sealant, you must scrape away the old, peeling paint and clean the dust so the new material can bond. In psychology, this means scraping away toxic positivity. Stop pretending everything is fine. Acknowledge the reality. I am struggling right now. Mindfulness is the ultimate primer. It prepares your psychological surface for true repair. Step 2. Fiberglass mesh equals the support network. Roofs usually crack at the seams and joints. To prevent this, engineers lay down a flexible fiberglass mesh to reinforce the structure. The Harvard Study of Adult Development, an 80-year-long longitudinal study, proved conclusively that the number one predictor of human happiness and resilience is not wealth or status, is the quality of our relationships. This is the outermost layer. It takes the direct hit from UV rays and acid rain, so it must be highly elastic, able to expand and contract with temperature changes. In your daily life, this topcoat is your resilient routine. It's getting 8 hours of sleep, eating nutrient-dense food, exercising to synthesize endorphins, and setting ironclad boundaries to protect your personal time. And remember, no topcoat lasts forever. Every 5 to 10 years, it requires maintenance. You have to continually audit and reapply these routines. In Dharma, this is the practice of apomodal living with constant vigilance and heedfulness. My friends, as long as we exist on this planet, bound by the laws of physics and nature, we cannot avoid entropy, and we cannot stop the rain. We cannot build a mind that is entirely unbreakable, but we can become the meticulous engineers of our own lives, constantly inspecting, auditing, and repairing our structural integrity. A roof that has been patched, layered with fiberglass mesh, and coated with thick waterproof sealant might not look as flawless and pristine as a brand new model home. But it is a roof that has survived the harshest seasons. It is battle-tested. It proves that it can truly protect the life inside it. The emotional scars you carry, the burnout you've recovered from, they don't make you damaged goods. They are the visible upgrades of your internal waterproofing system. It might be pouring rain today, but if you understand the equation, track down the root cause, and systematically apply the repairs, the storm will pass, and you will find warmth and safety inside your own mind once again. This is the algorithm of cause and effect. Every outcome in life has a formula hidden behind it. May your infrastructure remain resilient through every season. Stay logical, stay mindful,